والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We continue in Buloogh Al-Maraam, Sunday, September the 23rd. The time is now 4:16 p.m., which agrees with 2018 of the Gregorian calendar, which agrees with the 12th of Muharram, which is now 1440 للهجرة وبعد هجرة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم 1440 after the migration of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. And we continue on Buloogh Al-Maraam by the great illustrious Imam Al-Hafiz Ahmad bin Ali ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani rahimahullah, who died 852 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. And we were discussing in the same chapter, Kitab al-Nikah, the chapter of marriage. We're still in the affair, we're still discussing the topic of kafa'ah, adequacy, and alternative or choice, as we were discussing previous class. Walillahi alhamd wal minna, as everyone I'm sure have, if not realized throughout these chapters we've been covering, or we've covered, you'll find that Islam is not a religion of oppressing women. You'll find that these chapters is a rebuttal against those who say that it's an oppressive religion that makes women just mere slaves of men, or they have no choice in any affair as far as their personal lives. There's no type of choice they may have. If you notice all this chapter we've been covering, that the woman, the Prophet ﷺ, and a lot of these narrations that gave the woman the option to either want to remain in a certain situation, or if she wanted out, he gave her a way out. And even before the marriage, in certain circumstances, of course, in a lot of circumstances, except for one, that the virgin woman is also asks in her permission. And likewise, the woman who's previously married, who maybe have been, or her husband was deceased, and she wanted to marry again, that she's also, likewise, sought her permission and acts, and she is also consulted as the wali, or the one who's in charge of her affairs, ultimately gives her the decision and the right to marry who she wants to marry. So it's not a religion of oppression, as you will find that a lot of the enemies, especially the Orientalists, try to perceive or put a perception of Islam that it's a religion that men are dominant and women have no choice in anything. And all these ahadith have been covering, especially the hadith of marriage, which we talked about, the first khula' in Islam. As we know, we even discussed the hadith of Barira, radiyallahu anha, where the Messenger of Allah said to her, or she came to the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Mughith, her ex-husband, was crying, or before they actually separated, as Mughith was crying. He wanted to remain with his wife, but she wanted to leave. As it says in the narration, what happened with Mughith and Barira, that he was crying, and the Messenger of Allah just wanted to sort it out. And he said, don't you see your husband crying? Can't you see him crying? He wants to remain with you. He wants to stay with you. So Barira has said, "O Messenger of Allah, are you commanding me?" And the Messenger of Allah said, "No, I'm not commanding. I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to sort it out." So she said, "Oh, if that's the case, O Messenger of Allah, I choose to leave him. I choose to leave him." So all these ahadith are to show that women have an alternative in certain affairs where things become inadequate, as far as in everything we've been discussing, whether it be religiously or whether it be in hurriya or liberality, as we talked about, in liberation or one being freed, or in lineage, you notice that all those narrations has given a woman the option to either stay or to what? To annul the marriage and leave. So this is to give us a lot of enlightenment to repel or rebel or to give a rebuttal or refutation against those who say that Islam is an oppressive religion that does not give a woman a choice of any matter of any sort, which is absolutely baseless with no evidence to support that. In certain matters, of course, where if a woman does not know what's good for her based upon certain cases where the father would come in and look to the affair, especially if she's a little girl in those certain circumstances that we mentioned. If we were in a more of a civilized society where it wasn't, the influences wasn't of, if you want to say, satanic type of or sadistic sexual type of motivated preferences or things that are motivating it, and we weren't in that type of society, rather a civil society based upon Kitab and Sunnah, where people were pure, and a woman was a little girl, and a man of honor would come, and it would be an affair of chivalry and honor. And of course we know a girl that's young, in that particular age, doesn't know what's good for her, usually because she's still growing and coming up. So her father, in this only specific circumstance, would come in and override and say, for example, no, I'll find the man of what you need or what would be adequate for you religiously, what have you. But all the other circumstances we've been covering, it shows that the woman, what? She has a choice. She has a choice in the affair of whether or not she wants to remain or annul the marriage or move forward or what have you. So we were discussing the hadith of Ibn Abbas and, excuse me, I'm sorry everyone, the hadith of, we didn't cover that yet. Yeah, no, it's Ibn Abbas, still Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas that we said what happened with the Messenger of Allah and Zaynab and her husband Abil As Ibn Rabi', as we mentioned. And we said, just to close it off, because I wanted to move on, that the khulasa, or what we gathered up from this particular matter, just to summarize, make everything concise, that says that if a woman becomes Muslim, of course, before her husband, for number one, just to make everything clear, if a woman becomes Muslim before her husband, so now she's Muslim and her husband is what? Not Muslim. He's a kafir. Like, let's just say now, when they were in a state of not being Muslim, both of them, before she became Muslim, he never consummated with her, nor was he alone with her. Let's just say two Christians. They became married, or two people that are upon a way of polytheism, or what have you. They married each other, however, he never was alone with her, nor was he what? Nor did he consummate. And she became Muslim in that instance. Did we say she has an iddah? Does she have a waiting period? Ahsantu. Here in this particular instance, there is no iddah. If she becomes Muslim, there's no iddah, and she can marry directly. Soon as she becomes Muslim, she can marry directly. It's permissible for her to marry. Right, now let's just switch it. Let's just say now he was alone with her when they were both Christians or what have you, and she became Muslim. He was alone with her or he consummated with her. Now she became Muslim. Is there iddah or not a iddah? There is a iddah. There is a waiting period. Right. Based upon what we just mentioned, this narration, we said it's not permissible for the woman now to marry until how many months how much time has elapsed on her mens? 3 menstrual cycles. Then she becomes what? She can become married. She can get married after the 3 menstrual cycles is over. That's based upon an opinion of who, everyone? In the hadith. Is that based upon the narration of Ibn Abbas or the narration of Amr ibn Shu'aib upon his father or his grandfather? That agrees with both opinions. If the man becomes Muslim within the waiting period, it's clear. If the man becomes Muslim within that waiting period, then they can resume their relationship or their marriage still what? Is valid. That's agreed upon. As long as he becomes Muslim in the time or the waiting period, or during that time frame. We made that clear, right? G. The mawdi'ul khilaf, or the place of where it differed, or where it became a little bit difficult for certain people, they say it was where at the end of the iddah he became Muslim. We said, based upon what At-Tirmidhi and the majority of Ahl Ilm, you'll find that a lot of them are upon the opinion that there has to be a new marriage contract. There has to be a new marriage contract after the iddah is over. In regards to what Shaykh al-Islam and his tilmeed, the great Imam Al-Allama Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, that he said that that's not the case. That if the iddah is over and he became Muslim after the iddah, that if they were married before they were Muslim and the iddah is over and then he became Muslim, or she became Muslim first, of course, because that's the reason why the whole iddah started in the first place. She became Muslim and the iddah started. After the iddah was over, he became Muslim. He said here that, of course, with the condition that that she did not remarry. And they were Muslim they were married before they were Muslim. And she didn't remarry, of course. And of course, we have to add on this because we are here in America. There wasn't any funny business going on in between either. No dating, no phone call, hi, what's up, let's meet, let's have a little fun. No. There wasn't no funny business going on. That in that time frame that he can what? He can come back to her, or they can return back to each other and resume their what? Their marriage. So that's just to sum up everything we just mentioned. Just in summary, just to keep everything concise and short, because the next hadith that we're going to cover is exactly what we mentioned. Oh man, why didn't I forgot? It's crazy because I talked to Sheikh Arafat al-Muhammadi and he just sent me. I give that to everyone after we finish. At any rate. So in this regard, we said that's to summarize everything we discussed, just to keep everything concise. Now let's give a question and answers to everyone. Let's just say now she found out she was pregnant. She found out she was pregnant. After, let's just say, she became Muslim. Now, of course, we know the iddah started. The iddah, of course, we know the hikam behind it is a lot of hikam, is a lot of wisdoms for the waiting period in Islam, as we discussed. Right, everyone? We said from the wisdoms of why a woman is supposed to have a waiting period is to, number one, is to see she's pregnant. To see if she's pregnant. Because it's not permissible for the sperm or the water of another man to mix with another man. And like we said, those are the reasons why STDs have become widespread. The meaning for STDs is based upon the fact of what? Of the mixing of a lot of different what? Genes and different impurities all at once. So we said that when a man of the hikam of it is to see, number one, is she's pregnant. Number two, also, is to allow the woman's, her what? To allow her womb or herself to be cleansed of that man. Preparing for her another man, if she wanted to do that. If she wanted to get married again. If she wanted to do that. So after that waiting period, like we said, from the wisdoms of it, from the wisdoms, is that what? It allows the woman to cleanse herself, cleansing the genes, because we talked about before. You'll find that the man, when he enters a woman and he's intimate with her, it's as if some of his genes she inherits a little bit of his genes. She's now like as if they're truly a couple now. So now, in that particular instance, the waiting period of the actual mints of the woman, once she's cleansed, is as if it's getting herself prepared and her body ready for another man's genes to enter her, if that's the case. So, in this regard, if she's pregnant, can she become married? Can she get married while she's pregnant? No. A woman cannot get married while she's pregnant. It's impermissible until she has the baby. Once she has the baby, then she can marry, as we know and discuss. So that's just to sum up everything like we said. And now we go on to the next hadith, the next narration of what we're about to discuss now, and it's very relative to what we just mentioned. It's connected somewhat. طيب. That's the other one. The next hadith of Ibn Abbas, it says, everyone, قال أسلمت امرأة فتزوجت فجاء زوجها فقال يا رسول الله إني كنت أسلمت وعلمت بإسلامي فانتزعها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من زوجها الآخر وردها إلى زوجها الأول. رواه أحمد وأبو داود وابن ماجه وصححه ابن حبان والحاكم. When the authority Ibn Abbas, they said that a woman became Muslim and she married again. So that's exactly what we're just discussing. She married again. So her former husband came. Said, O Messenger of Allah, indeed I have become Muslim. Inni kuntu aslamtu. Verily, indeed, I have become Muslim. And she knew about my Islam. She knew about my Islam. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he removed the woman, or the woman who he's discussing, who was his wife, took her from the current husband who she was with. Removed her from him. Because we know the Messenger of Allah at that time, of course we know he was the ruler. Because these affairs and these type of powers are only for the ruler, for the hakim, or the one who is the jurisdiction, or if you want to say, the sultan, or the authorities. So the authorities is the only one that can do this. So it's not for the common folk to come into these affairs and now nullify a marriage and return the man back to a what? To her former husband. So it says that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had what? Removed her from her current husband and returned her back to her former husband. Rawahu Ahmad wa Abu Dawud wa Ibn Majah. So in this hadith, what are we discussing now, everyone? It has a connection with the previous hadith we just covered, right, everyone? Doesn't it? It has some type of similarity or connection, I would say. Does it? So this woman here now, she became Muslim. And then her what? Her former husband became Muslim. And she knew about his what? About his Islam. She knew about it. Until she married another man. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ returned her back to her what? Her first husband. Why? Because that marriage still had remained upon what was the first. Because she knew about his Islam. She knew about it. So she came. فأقدمت على أن تتزوج شخصا وهي في حيال شخص آخر. So it says, if this took place during the iddah, what would be what? Extracted from this narration. She became Muslim and he became Muslim. So as if the marriage was still what? It remained upon what was upon. Nothing changed. And she knew about it. However, you'll find that Ahl Ilm give the excuse that she did not know the ahkam, that she was ignorant. Maybe she was ignorant of this affair, of this particular hukum or ruling, because this would necessitate a type of what? A punishment, or the type of what she knew about Islam. She married again. What would come to her mind is that there would come as a result of it some type of what? Had, a penalty. We'll discuss it in a minute, inshallah. He said, فَأَقْدَمَ, so she came and she married another man, even though she was under the responsibility of another at the same time. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ nullified the marriage, took her from the, like he said, the current one, and returned her back to the first. So now it's benefited from this particular narration, that if a woman marries a man, and she's still under the, if you want to say, still under another marriage, for verily the marriage of the second is not valid. It's not valid. Let's just say now a woman marries another man, it's currently, like, and it's sad to say, amongst the Muslim community of a woman that's still in her waiting period and she marries another man. If this takes place, is the marriage valid or not? If a woman marries another man and she's still in her waiting period, is her marriage to this new man valid or not? It's invalid. Totally invalid. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ had what? Nullified the marriage from the new man or the current man and returned her back to the first. So now, from the benefits of this particular narration, that we say that if a man marries a woman with a shubha, that's called a shubha, that there's some type of something inconspicuous happened that the new husband didn't know about. He didn't know about it, which is called shubhatul uqad, in which a person that he thinks that is valid, but in actuality it's not. Is he held accountable for it or not? We say that the man, of course, is not. He had nothing to do with it. He didn't know. Even though the aqid or the actual contract is still invalid. Now the other question comes, is it upon the person, is it upon them a punishment for both couples? Meaning the woman and the man. That's the question now, right or wrong? That's the question. Meaning the punishment as far as a had or type of penalty or sin, if you want to say. We can say sin or now even a penalty based upon the fact of what took place. The key word, if you look in the narration, it says that she knew. Right or wrong? So that means she was what? Still married. However, you'll find that Ahl Ilm say in this regard about this particular Sahabiyah, that he said that the Messenger of Allah did not carry out the had on her, using and exhausting all the excuses of what took place, saying that she did not know the hukum or the ahkam in regards to this, because it said that both of them had just became Muslim. She became Muslim, then he became Muslim. So excuse in this particular regards was took in consideration. So a had was not applied to her, or was it applied to the man? Because of course, that's even more. As far as the man not knowing, of course, he's even more excused. So what was stood as to take in consideration of all the different narrations we just been discussing, this one and the ones that have preceded, and the other narrations we've been covering, if we want to say the other four, all of them brings a benefit to show that marriages before Islam are what? Considered. No matter whether it's in Christianity or whether it's even in a polytheistic type of what? Practice. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? If they were married in that particular polytheistic type of way, or in Christianity or Judaism or what have you, the religion of Islam recognizes the marriage. However, the ahkam of what is permissible, what Allah revealed, still takes place. And it's still applicable where if something haram was taking place. And even though they both became Muslim, they would still have to apply that particular rulings. Such as, for example, a man was married to two sisters, as we just said in the last narration that already preceded. When she became Muslim and they became Muslim, what did the Messenger of Allah do? He just corrected it and say you have to divorce what? One and keep the other. So what he did was, as we said, with tasheeh, a correction of the marriage, not a renewal. And likewise, similar to that, what happened to the narration that we just said in the book of Ghaylan ibn Salama. Ghaylan ibn Salama, that he had how many wives? He had 10. He had 10 wives before he was Muslim. And all of them became Muslim. Ghaylan became Muslim, and all of his wives became Muslim. Every single last one of them. However, what the Messenger of Allah did again, what did he do? He corrected it. Because a hukum played in that was still a mani', or if you want to say, something impermissible was still existing. It was still taking place. So the Messenger of Allah had to what? Remove that, because that was displeasing to Allah, and to what? And to teach what is correct, which is keep 4 and what? Divorce the rest. Let's just say now, and what a person, especially in these days, we live in these chaotic, trying times, man right now became Muslim, mother became Muslim. They were married to each other. Because that happens even with the Persians. The Persians used to marry each other into their families. And some of the I think some, if not the Protestants, what's the name of that religious group? The Mormons. Some of the deviant sects of the Christians and the Mormons. They'll marry each other and their families. They'll marry their daughters to the kids, and still, which is they practice to this day. And which was found here in America. The man who was a Mormon, and he married, and their sisters married the sister, or the brothers and the sisters, and they had a lot of deformities. They found that a lot of them were deformed because they were marrying each other off. I forgot his name. It was the name of the individual, the Mormon. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyway, for now, let's just say they both became Muslim. Once they become Muslim, then it's incumbent upon what? The hukum to be applied. Which is, in this particular instance, he will have to what? Leave his mother. Can't remain married to his own mother. Nor can he remain married to his own sister. All of that will have to be what? Removed. All of it will have to be nullified and removed. Because the hukum or the illah, or what is of tahrim, or for what is unlawful, is still existent to what we just mentioned. Similar to that is what we just said here in this narration. Is the woman who became married. And likewise, her husband became Muslim. So in this narration, if you look in your books, everyone, what are we saying here? That their marriage previously was still what? Considered. And that they did not remarry in Islam. Because they were married before they were Muslim. So even in all these narrations we've been covering, all considers that. So to keep in mind that particular benefit, so you can have that. So if two couples was in Muslim and they were Christian or what have you, and they become Muslim, as long as both of them enter the fold of Islam, then, like we said, they can continue their marriage. So this is the narration, like we said, just to sum up. We just benefited from this. In this hadith, it says, إشكال, even I'm going to read quickly what Ibn Uthaymin that he mentioned says. He said, وفي هذا الحديث إشكال من بعض الوجوه وهي أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قبل قول الزوج الأول إنه أسلم وعلمت بإسلامي فكيف حكم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بمجرد قوله؟ الجواب عن هذا أن نقول إنها لم تنكر لما ادعى زوجها ذلك فحكم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بمقتضى دعوى زوجها الأول لأنها لم تنكره. Also likewise it says in this narration that the woman affirmed. She affirmed that she was still under the marriage of her former husband, but they say that she did not know of the hukum. So she was excused in this regard, even though the Messenger of Allah ﷺ accepted the statement from the husband. For a person would say, but why did the Messenger of Allah just automatically accept the statement of the husband by saying, she knew about my Islam? So he automatically what? Removed her. So a person might say, well, why didn't he ask her? He might have been, maybe he's not telling the truth. They say that the answer to this is she didn't deny it. She did not what? She did not deny it. Which shows that what? That the affirmation of it was what? It was true. That this did actually take place. So as a result of it, he removed her from her current husband and returned her back to the what? To the former or the first. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So now before we move on, in the next chapter, well, not the next chapter, but the next hadith, is there any questions about what we've been discussing? Because there's something else that's important we're going to have to talk about today. Anything? Before we move on. Jay, alhamdulillah. You have any questions? You sure? طيب. As we move on to the next narration on the authority of Zayd ibn Ka'b ibn Ujrah عن أبيه كعب ibn Ujrah قال تزوج رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم العالية من بني غفار فلما دخلت عليه وضعت ثيابها رأى بكشحها بياضا فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم البسي ثيابك والحقي بأهلك وأمر لها بالصداق. رواه الحاكم وفي إسناده جميل بن زيد وهو مجهول واختلف عليه في شيخه اختلافا كثيرا. تنانذر. On the authority Zayd ibn Ka'b ibn Ujrah upon his father قال that he said that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم married a woman named Al-Aliyah. Her name was Al-Aliyah. As they know in these their names, they call her Aliyah. Al-Aliyah. From Bani Ghifar. From the tribe of Ghifar. That she entered upon the message of Allah because they were married. Became married. As it says in this narration. She removed her clothes. Or part of her clothes. Or the top of her garment. The top part of her garment. And the message of Allah seen a kesh. What they call kesh. Mean it's a type of baras, or it's a type of skin ailment. I think we would consider it as leprosy or something to that effect. I'm not mistaken. What do they call a person that has that type of skin blemish? Not asthma. No. Like I think it's a type of white. It becomes like there's no pigmentation there. The pigmentation's gone. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now. The pig. I don't know if it's leprosy or something. I'm not sure. But correct me if I'm wrong. Say it again. Not a mulatto, but I know it's a specific medical term for it, but I can't remember it right now. But it's this type of skin pigmentation disorder. But at any rate, the Prophet ﷺ seen this type of whiteness. He even says it in the narration. It says it clearly. Bayadan. He seen that type of whiteness. It says when the Messenger of Allah seen this, it says, Ilbasi thiyabaki. Wear your garment and return back to your family. Wear your garment or put on your clothes and return back to your family. And he commanded that she have a dowry or her wedding gift or what have you. Or what is the dowry will be what? Be given to her. A person would think now, this seems like it's kind of mean. As we'll discuss, we'll see what happened. And to see whether or not the narration is authentic. طيب. So far, everyone understand what we're discussing. This type of narration is the head of Ahl Ilm discuss of what they call nullifying a marriage due to some type of aib, due to some type of what they call a sickness or some type of blemish or some type of, if not say discrepancy, oh man, what's the word I could look for it. They call this the affair of what? Returning or nullifying a marriage due to some type of ailment or sickness or some type of deficiency in the physical aspect of a person of what they did not know about. That would affect the marriage. Yeah, we prayed already. Brothers who didn't pray also, go ahead and pray also. I knew that was going to happen. Whoever didn't pray also, go ahead and pray also. We prayed already. We prayed also already. طيب. I forgot to inform everyone. A person will ask, what are we discussing? What is this pertaining to? Affairs you'll find that Ahl Ilm has said as what can cause as a reason for an annulment of the marriage can be something pertaining to an ailment or sickness or even some type of blemish that might cause the husband or might cause the wife. It could be either on side. It doesn't matter. That might cause something where it would cause some type of problem in the relationship. Whether or not, for example, and I'll give, just to start up and give a glimpse or give an introduction before we give the details accurately what we're going to discuss today. For example, a man marries a woman and he did not clarify that, for example, I can't have children or I can't have children. He did not clarify it. He didn't say anything, even though he knew. Or let's just say the woman on her end is what I think they call, was it the man that's sterile or the woman that's sterile? The man is sterile, but it's a term for the woman. She's infertile? Okay. What they say? Or barren. Now for that reason, let's just say now the woman didn't clarify it. She didn't say it. Well, she had to clarify. The man found out, or let's just say the woman found out about the other man. If she did not clarify it, or he did not clarify it, let's just say in his regard that he's sterile. If he did not clarify the marriage, this is a reason for annulment in the marriage. This is a reason for a divorce. Because, like we said, this can also likewise lead to problems in the marriage, especially if the man didn't clarify or if the woman didn't clarify. So all these affairs have to be what? Have to be known, it had to be clear, it had to be clear so a person can know what they're getting into. Likewise, whether it be a sickness, even mental conditions, even mental health, even a STD, or what have you. All of that has to be clarified before a person enters into marriage. Even in a person, I hope people do not take this and laugh. This is not funny. But even, because I'm going to mention this. Even if a man has an erectile dysfunction, yes, it's called an inneen. It's we even mentioned in the books of fiqh. It's called unna. Unna is when a man cannot become erect. It's called the unna. And the name of it is the inneen, that he cannot become erect. Or on the woman's side that she has, for example, she has a problem where there's a certain practice of certain cultures that they will sew the woman's actual private part up. They do that in certain cultures. It has nothing to do with Islam. It's a cultural practice or some type of wicked satanic practice. That's cultural. It has nothing to do with it. Or something where they removed the actual hymen from the woman or what have you, or they removed it totally. So in that particular case, then the woman will have to clarify that. She will have to clarify that and make that clear. So they call it annulment of the marriage because of a aib, because of a aib. An aib is like some type of blemish or some type of sickness or some type of discrepancy that might cause an effect of the relationship in the marriage. Even in certain physicality, certain aspects of physicality or certain physical aspects or certain things, based upon this hadith. And this is to show, some people think that a person would know. It's no problem, for example, a woman will clarify, let's just say, before she married a man, I have a lot of tattoos on my body, for example. Because we have to now try to tie that into what we're discussing now. Because some men don't like tattoos. Some men don't like it. Some men do like it, even though we shouldn't. But some men don't mind that. Some men don't mind it. But some men, they see that, they be like, oh, no, I can't. There's certain men out there that don't like that. They don't like that look. I know a couple of people, they don't like that look. They'll say, I don't want to marry a woman with a lot of tattoos on. I can't look at that. But a woman will have to clarify that. And a man similar to that will have to clarify, I have tattoos on my body. Is that a problem? Because some men might not be able to look at that, and that could be a reason for what? To affect the physical aspect of the marriage. Because we're human beings, and a person has to desire their spouse to give them their haqq, to give them their right as far as sexually or physically, what have you. Is that clear what I'm saying, everyone? We're being real here because we live in a real world, and people are human beings, and they need to like what they like. And if not, it could cause problems in the marriage. And it could cause what? Either the man that have a bunch of issues and the woman that have a bunch of issues, especially with women. Women are very emotional. Women do not want to feel that their husband is not attracted to them. That's a terrible feeling. I'm sure women can tell you that their husband don't want to touch them, their husband don't want to be with them. That puts a woman in a very awkward situation. Am I right or wrong, sisters? It's a very uncomfortable situation. So that's the reason why I keep emphasizing to brothers and sisters, when you marry each other, make sure there's some type of attraction and make sure that everybody's clear to the best of your ability. Try to show what you can show as much as you can. As much as you can. We're not going to the extremes. Certain people take that to another extent. But as far as being middle course, of clarifying what might be a reason that will to annul the marriage, what will cause a problem. And this hadith is to show, this narration, is to show that how our religion is takes a consideration of relationships, of how a person can have the choice to either continue the marriage, or if they want, they have the choice to annul it. And that's connected to what we're discussing now. So the woman can now, let's give an example for the woman. Let's just say the woman married a man, and she did not know about let's just say, and I'm not laughing. Let's just keep this serious. Let's just say the man found out that the woman found out the man cannot become erect. That's a problem. Let's just say, for example, he did not clarify that I have that problem. From time to time, I have that problem. What have you? Just keep it serious, sisters. Sisters, don't laugh. Ha ha ha. No, serious. Gee. Let's just say, keep this serious and discuss it. If that man did not clarify that, that could be a reason for annulment of the marriage. It could be a reason. Yes, absolutely. Sisters, let's be serious. Yes, absolutely. It could be a reason for annulment of the marriage. The ulama, and I'm going to read exactly what Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentioned, because the person will say, Abdul-Razzaaq, where are you getting this from? I'll read, even Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentioned it. He mentioned the word unna. And I'm going to read exactly what he says. He says here in this hadith, and I'm going to just read it quickly. He says, number one, hear this particular narration, but we're going to discuss the authenticity of it, no doubt. But however, the ulama do accept its understanding. But as far as the isnad or the chain of it, we'll discuss. He says, وَهِيَ تُثْبِتُ الْخِيَارِ إِذَا كَانَ فِي أَحْدِ الزَّوْجَيْنِ عَيْبٌ لَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِهِ الزَّوْجُ الْآخَرِ. Keep in mind what we just said. Here in this narration, affirms an alternative in choice. That if one of the two spouses has some type of discrepancy in them, whether it be a sickness or a blemish or physical blemish or what have you, that one of the two did not know about it during the time or the contract of the marriage. For here in this instance, it says that both of them, they have the choice to either annul the marriage or to what? Or to continue it. They have the choice for al-fasq, to annul, or to what? To dissolve the marriage. He says, as far as uyub, as far as discrepancies or blemishes or sicknesses or what have you, to the end of it, because the word uyub is comprehensive for all that. He says there are plenty. We can't number all of them, but there's a lot of them. He says there are a number of them, blemishes or discrepancies that are for men, and some of them are for women. They're specifically from women. And some of them they share in between. He said, well, at the point of why Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar mentioned this narration here in the chapter is to affirm that the person has the alternative in the choice to whether or not they want to continue the marriage or to what? To annul it. He says what was discussed here, due to the fact that someone hid it, they had what? Hidden that particular thing or that particular affair. Because in that type of concealment is a type of ghish. It's as if you're trying to cheat. And you hiding something. As if you're scared to prove or affirm what you have, which can cause harm upon that other individual, right or wrong? So now when you conceal it now. That is what they call another, what we're going to discuss now, where the gharra, or if you want to say, where now he tricked or cheated that person. Where they tricked or they cheated them. So keep in mind that particular word while I'm saying that, because that is connected to the hadith of why they say in this narration, why the Messenger of Allah told her to return. Because it was known amongst us of companions, they say, that if any type of blemish or anything that was affirmed, it had to been what? Said at that particular time before the actual marriage commenced. It should have been made clear. And due to the fact that you concealed it, is as if you're trying to what? You're trying to get over and hide. So it might not be because the Messenger of Allah had actual blemish that the woman hid, is in that narration, but because she tried to hide it, and the man who's in charge of her affairs also knew about it. And he didn't say it either. So due to that fact, as we're going to discuss in the narration, especially if the wali knew, the father knew, the brother knew, or the whoever knew, and she knew, and they didn't clarify it to the man, let's just say in this particular example. If they did not clarify it, then some type of what? Some type, as you want to say, of cheat or form of treachery took place, whereas they hid it, which came as a result of it, that allowed the husband now, or even the wife, to become upset. Why did you conceal it? Just say the truth. You might not have known. If you showed me at the time, I would have been like, okay, that's not a problem. But the fact that you hid that now is what angered me and turned me off now. You get what I'm saying? So now, in that particular instance here, it says in this narration that he said, okay, return back to your family. Meaning that was a form of divorce, as we'll discuss in a minute. However, listen to what even the great Imam, as he mentioned, says. Hafidhullah wa ra'ah. He said, in the isnad is Jamil ibn Zayd. In this particular narration, it says, notice Al-Hafid ibn Hajar mentioned and said that he's majhul. He's majhul. He's not known. And also, it was a lot of differences upon his sheikh in the isnad. So the isnad has two types of what? Hidden weaknesses in it. He says the first weakness, that there was difference of opinion upon Jamil ibn Zayd. Jamil ibn Zayd. It was different in different chains and narrations upon who really truly related it. It said one time was upon so-and-so, then another time was upon somebody different. All these differences show there was some type of hidden weakness. Secondly, on top of that, jahalat al-rawi, that the narrator in the chain is not known. And we also know that's also a form of a weakness in the chain of the narration, that the person has to be known and reliable and trustworthy. Here it's not known. So now this ridicules and now shows some type of discrepancy in the chain. It says here, however, you'll find that Ahl Ilm does accept this as far as the meaning. Meaning as far as marriages being annulled because of a blemish that's concealed or hidden from one of the two spouses. That the meaning of it is accepted, of this particular narration. Even though it says that he married a woman from the tribe of Ghifar. Ghifar, as we know, was a tribe that was famous. It was a famous known tribe amongst the Arab. It says that when it's in the narration, that when she lifted up her garment or upper part of her garment, she removed it, that she had between, I think they say between the navel, somewhere in the navel area and up with the chest and around that area, he's seen some whiteness. So he said, wear your clothes and return back to your family. And it says that he still commanded her with the sadaq. He still commanded her with her dowry. Ahl Ilm say that in this particular regards, that the message of Allah was, even though they say that the chain is weak, but they say that the understanding of the narration is still correct. Because if a person now is cheated or something was concealed and he did not know about it, or likewise the woman, similar to her in her situation, the man concealed something, which was a form of what? Somewhat of treachery. If he knew about it and he didn't want to say it. So now the woman becomes irritated and upset. I'm upset. Why don't you just clarify and tell me what was going on? Here in this instance, if it's on the man's side, let's just say the man something was concealed from him, and he became upset. In this particular narration, if he was to go to the courts in Islam, of course in the countries of the Islamic court, the man would allow the judge will allow the man to keep the dowry. Because he was fooled, he was cheated. So the dowry be returned back to him. You cheated and you concealed. You were supposed to what? Let him know. First he would investigate. Did you know about this discrepancy? Did you know you had to inform him, that you had to clarify it to the end of it? And of course we know the wali would be investigated to ask, did you not know, what have you? Because maybe you might have gave him a sickness or disease or illness. It could be a lot of things. Did you know? They would be investigated. If they knew, then of course he would be able to keep the dowry because he was fooled, he was cheated. However, in this narration it said that the Messenger of Allah still commanded her that she keep it, regardless of, despite of the fact that he was cheated and that he was tricked and fooled, or this was concealed. So it said and showed that here, despite of that, is that obligatory? Is that obligatory now that the man give the dowry back or give the dowry to the woman, despite of her, let's just say, cheating him or concealing this particular matter from him? Initially, no. But however, what was mentioned here in this narration, they say that was from the generosity of the Prophet ﷺ only. That he was very generous. Despite of him being cheated and despite of this type of concealment or this type that took place or this matter, he still commanded that still, okay, take the money out of the kind generosity as he was, alayhi salatu wasalam. That's what they said. In regards to why, because it says mentioned he commanded her for her dowry still be given to her. Why, despite of this type of concealment taking place? Because, like we said, he was still generous, is commanded that what? Keep the money or keep the gift or whatever that was given to her at the time of the marriage. Not saying that that was obligatory, but saying that he did that only out of his generosity. Not because it's obligatory. Because the hukm of what we're going to discuss is what was mentioned here. I'm going to say it right now, inshallah. What time is it? What time do you have? Let me see. I'll look on that. Oh, no. 5:06. Okay, gee. We got a couple more minutes, about 10 more minutes. Like, the great Imam Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned in this regard, listen to what he says. He says that says in this narration that the Prophet ﷺ had what? That he's seen a type of whiteness. When he's seen this, it says, هَذَا لَا يُنَافِي الْأُصُولِ. He said, from this type of statement where he said that whiteness, he said, this is the reason why Ahl Ilm put this in the chapter of what they call the norma of marriage due to uyub. The uyub. The uyub, like we said, is some type of blemish. It's a comprehensive word for a lot of different things. No matter what it is, it could be, like I said, a physical blemish. It could be a sickness. It could be what have you. It could be a lot of things. That's like we said, we encourage to the best of our abilities to be clear in the time of our marriages. We shouldn't be afraid to let us know of what. Just like me, for example, certain women don't like, let's just say certain men or women don't like a man to have just a small beard, for example. That's her preference. Everybody's different. She likes a man to have a full beard or more of a thick beard. That's her preference. There's nothing wrong with that. Women are laughing, but that's the truth. Everybody has their preference. Certain women like, for example, a man that's more shorter. Some women like man that's big. Some women like man that's short, skinny. Everybody has their preference. And there's nothing wrong with that. A person shouldn't be looked down upon because they have certain preferences. Some women don't mind. Some women are more into the mental aspect of men. I just want a man to be a man. That turns me on. Some women are like that. I just want a man to be a man. He's responsible. He knows how to show kindness. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. But the point of the matter is that everyone has to be what? Has to be upon clarity. And it's everybody has to be what? Upon clarity. Let's just say now some women don't like bald-headed men. Some women think bald-headed men look nice. Everybody has to be upon clarity. Everybody has their differences. And just like what? Just like men. Men have their preferences. Not to say to go to the extremes. Because all of us have certain things about ourselves, and none of us are perfect. But we still have to take a middle course in these affairs. But the actual affair of now, to say to rid attraction to out the marriage, to say that no, there's no akhi like her for the religion or like him for the religion, that's not correct. That's not correct whatsoever. Attraction has its place in our religion. There has to be some type of what? Attraction. There has to be, but we have to be what? Middle course. Not to be too extreme and not to be on the opposite side of the extreme. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So he says, and I'm going to just read this benefit quickly. That he says, هذا لا يخالف الأصول حتى إن الرسول يغتسل وهو عائشة يغتسل هو وعائشة من إناء واحد. Here in this narration is to show that the couples, and I want everybody, just like I said, let's stay mature about this matter, brothers and sisters. Let's stay mature. We're not saying this to be, we're saying this because we live in real life, and these ahkam was given in order to know how we deal with each other. Especially because we're human beings, or what? We're able to worship Allah, and at still times enjoy ourselves as human beings in the boundaries that Allah has given us. To enjoy ourselves as human beings. Here you will find that the Messenger of Allah, of course we know, that he, alayhi salatu wasalam, used to wash in the same, or the container with Aisha, and they both didn't have their clothes on. Which is to show that it's permissible for what? That the man could do this with his spouse, or his or her spouse, of course, or she could do it with her spouse, or his spouse, whatever. That they can wash, and they can what? See each other's outer. And this one narration is it says that she removed her upper garment, showing that the man can see the outer of his wife. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? He can see that. As we know, during the time of the Messenger of Allah, they washed from the container. And like we said, in their hands had what? It was to show that they were romantic and in love. And that's something that's also nothing wrong with that. As a lot of brothers and sisters, even a lot of our brothers, they think, oh, we have to be romantic. I ain't got to do all that. This ain't. No, the Messenger of Allah used to do certain things that were to show love and romance with his wife. There's nothing wrong with that. So, and it shows the indication of what? That a woman could be and show her awrah to her husband. And likewise, the husband can show the awrah to the what? To the woman. Jayyid. When the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has seen this whiteness, it says in the narration, it says that this doesn't negate the usul. Meaning, is my phone going off? That the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, that he commanded her to wear her thobe. He says that the indication of this is that what? He did not desire her from that point on. He said, as it was understood to show that what? Of how to make a statement but not be offensive. To try to make a statement but not to say, listen, you're ugly, get out my house. As a lot of us would say. I don't want you no more, man. You show me that disgusting thing under your arm. Ew, I ain't want that. You understand what I'm saying? Hey, you got that around your stomach, you got that gut? Man, it's time for you to go back home. No. The Messenger of Allah used to do be strategic at how he said things in order to take in consideration of what? The feelings of the individual. There's not just this narration. There's a lot of narrations that shows that. The Messenger of Allah would get his point across but not be offensive. And that the person heard it, understood what he was saying. Or the point he was trying to make without being what? Without offending the feelings of the individual. So he said, wear your clothes. He said, put back your clothes, put on your clothes, return to your family. There's another narration that affirmed that he said this with another woman, and I think it was Maryam bint al-Qibtiyya. And there was another woman in another narration, he did mention this. He says, return back to your family. Because of another incident that took place. That's another narration we'll talk about later. But at any rate, this particular wording, return back to your family. A person will ask, does this necessitate a divorce? Number one is, we have the frank wording of divorce. So we have the frank wording of divorce. The frank wording of divorce is that when a man says, I divorce you, of course, right, everyone? That's frank. Then you have what they call kinayatun anit talaq. Words that necessitate the divorce if it's with the intention of the divorce of the man. If it's with his intention. Like for example, if a man says, I'm tired of this, or I'm tired of this. Or for example, let's just say, I want to move on. So now a person says this. A man now had to be investigated. When you said that, did you intend divorce, or you just mean that you're just fed up? If a man said, no, what I just intended, I'm just fed up, it's not a divorce. But if he's investigated and said, when you said that verbally and uttered that word, did you mean that you divorced her? If he says yes, that counts as a divorce. Is it clear what I'm saying? If he says, for example, I'm tired of this, I want to move on. Now you have to investigate. Did you mean by, when you said that, you intended by that divorce or not? No, I'm not. I just mean I'm just fed up. I'm tired. I'm getting frustrated. Okay, it's not a divorce. If he said that now and he intended by it a divorce, then here in this particular instance is what? It's counted as a divorce. Is it clear? Based upon this narration in which the Messenger of Allah frankly did not say, I divorce. He didn't say that. However, he said, return back to your family or catch up with your family. They call that kinayatun anit talaq. Words that is as if they're like an insinuation of a talaq. But with the condition that the intention will have to be what? Investigated. The intention will have to be what? Investigated. If the man, whether or not he intended by those type of words, there's a lot of ways that a person they call kinayat talaq can be made. There's a lot of them. Like for example, get out. Or get out. I'm tired of this, or what have you. Or for example, it's a lot of different ways. What comes to my mind right now? Remove yourself, get off the premises, take your stuff and get out my house, or whatever. The person has to be investigated. Did you intend by that divorce? No, I was just mad. I was upset. Did you intend by that for her the marriage to be over? No. I just didn't want to look at her. I was frustrated. All right. If that was you said that and you intended by that divorce, it counts as a divorce. It counts as a divorce. That's what you call kinayatan an talaq. It calls what you call things or wordings that insinuate a divorce. With the condition that what? A person will have to investigate whatever you want. The intention. So we'll have to be asked the man at the time, did you intend a divorce or not? طيب. So now, in which we discuss, from the benefits of the hadith, even what was discussed here, of that you'll find that during the time of the Arab, especially what he says at the time where people were more, things were more of pertaining to class and chivalry, where people had more of a classy type of way about themselves. People were more classy and more honorable, and more things were about chivalry and honor and things of that nature. He says, of course, during the time of the Messenger of Allah, those things, of course, were from those type of ways in which people still deemed class to be very what? Considered. That you'll find in these type of narrations that during that time, when the man became married, the woman will enter upon the man. The woman will what? Enter upon the man. Beautify herself and enter upon him. You understand? So it says that in these type of narrations, that's from the benefits of it. That the man during the time of marriage, once a woman decorated herself, the man will be waiting, and the woman will come in decorated, and she will what? She was the one that will want to be comforted or a comfort for her husband and show the comfort and the relaxation and the femininity and things of that nature, walking in on and entering upon the husband, not the opposite. That was from the benefits of this hadith, and there's other narrations that supports that. In these days and times, a woman would say, especially from the West, why can't you get your dress for me? You come in on me. I'm sitting here waiting for you. Come on. That's what I'm saying. Things were more about class and more about honor, about chivalry and having class. These days, everything's buck wild. Everybody can just do it. Come on, hurry up. Let's do this. Come on. You understand, everyone? Everything's just quick, buck wild, no class, and these are the days we live in now. And that's the reason why we're in the current situation and state we're in now. We ask Allah to make us how these people were, especially during the time of the Sahaba, and how the women were. How they were classy, and they were women that were respectable. And that's the reason why the men showed them respect. And vice versa. طيب. So it says that that's from the benefits of the hadith. From the benefits of the hadith is what? That during the time of the Messenger of Allah, that the women used to enter upon the man during the time of the marriage. She would decorate herself, and she would enter upon him, or enter upon them, the men. Also, what we extract from this hadith is that's permissible for the two spouses to see each other's awrah. It's permissible for the husband or the two spouses to see each other's what? They see each other, awrah. That they can display it to one another, and there's no problem with that. طيب. Now, what we want to discuss is what what we said about a half an hour ago, and we'll stop here, inshallah. What about the actual blemishes? This is what Ibn Uthaymeen said in this regard. He says, أنه لا حرج على الإنسان إذا رأى بامرأته عيبا خلقيا أن يفارقها لا يقال إن هذا العيب الخلقي من الله ولا يمكنها أن تتخلى عنه. He says, and from the benefits extracted from the hadith, there's no problem upon a man if he sees a woman that has some type of physical blemish, that he depart from her or nullify the marriage. Especially if it was concealed and he did not know about it. And a person shouldn't say, yeah, that's a physical blemish, that's from Allah. She can't remove it. What you going to do? Just put up with it. He says, of course, we do not say that, especially if it's been concealed. He says, especially if a person now, there's a lot of food and different types of meals out there that everybody's preferable in what they like, right? Do we say that about food? Now let's just say a person has a particular type of what? that he has a particular type of taste for food. He's not forced upon what he eats or she eats. If a person presents something in front of them, either they're going to like it or they're going to what? Dislike it based upon their preference. And similar to a woman, same thing. Everybody has their own preference. Nobody's going to say, Akhi, it's food. Be grateful. Eat it anyway. No, certain people have taste for what they like and what they what? Dislike. That's human beings. So a person would say, all right, well, this particular narration, this is what we already covered. It says that this broke her heart. This broke her heart. Then Shaykh Uthaymeen goes into the qadr of Allah about the benefits of this is something that happens amongst the people. We have to be patient for what Allah has destined and decreed. And this is from the divine decree in which we have to be patient with. And likewise, we said that this affair was concealed. It was concealed. And also, likewise, there was some treachery that was involved in it, and which we'll discuss next week, inshallah. Because there's another benefit that we'll discuss. It said there was something included in this matter of some type of what? Concealment, which was connected with treacheries. We'll discuss next week. So we'll stop here, inshallah. But keep in mind, like we said, everyone, I don't want everyone to think that this is something of we're being perverted or anything. We're just being real, because these take place in our communities and our relationships. So we have to deal with it. And I hear with it all the time. I get complaints about certain things, about brothers or women saying that I met a man, he didn't tell me this, he concealed the sickness from me, I didn't know he had this, I didn't know he had that, or I didn't know he had a job, he lied about his job, or a lot of these things come up. He lied about this. If that's the case and it's been established, we investigate, because we have to hear from the man. If this is the case, then these are reasons that can annul the marriage. If he deceived her, if there was some type of cover-up or some type of deceit that took place, and even with women, same thing. Same thing. Let's just say a woman has a sickness, whether in her physical appearance or as her hair or what have you. All these things have to be what? Have to be made clear at the time of the marriage, so a person can know what they're what? Getting into. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب, we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson, anyone?